Hey everybody, welcome back to Mullin Farm. For those of you watching for the first time, I'm Lance and I farm here with my wife Claire and our 5 kids. So we are in the early stages of regenerative farming. Some of you have watched before, will have seen that before, but yeah, for those of you watching for the first time. Some of you who have sort of been followers of us will notice we haven't done any filming for a little while. Towards the end of last year we just needed to take a break. We'd had a bit of a hard time just with a few illnesses in the family. And it had just been a really full-on year. As many of you who are farming would know, sometimes things just get too busy and you just need to take a step back. So we took a step back for about 6 months, but we've got some really cool things on the farm here that we want to share with you. So we just are at the stages now that we're just trying to get back into doing a few more videos. So anyway, some of you who are farming in New Zealand would have obviously noticed that parts of the country had a really bad drought this summer. So Taranaki, where we are farming, parts of it were really badly affected. So we got quite dry, luckily not that bad. You know, you'd only go 5 or 10 minutes and things would be a hell of a lot worse. But on the flip side of that, you know, 5 or 10 minutes that way and they were green and rolling in grass. So that's just basically to do with a lot of it was where you are relative to the mountain and where the rains came from. And you know, we were getting a lot of northerly rains, which we tend to miss, which, you know, the guys just a little bit further along the road this way, they tend to get those rains. The flip side of that is that we miss those northerly rains in winter time and they tend to get smashed by them. So hey, it's just farming, you can't do much about that. But anyway, one of the things we wanted to talk to you about is something we've tried this year, and it was, you know, to do with us being in that drought. Is we've done quite a lot of undersowing with some diverse pastures while it was dry and while the pastures were quite open. So some of you will remember this year for the first time we've done a multi-species pasture crop. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, you might want to go back and watch some earlier videos, but that was a crop with about 23 different species in it. So there's grasses and clovers and legumes and, you know, radish, sunflowers, phacelia, all sorts of things. So what we had planned to do was do another crop like that for winter time. It was such a successful crop, or so for autumn, say, plant it in autumn. It was such a successful crop that we had planned to do another one, which would have basically been the same mix, but I think we would have taken out just a couple of those things that are sort of more summertime plants. But since it was so dry, I was looking around some of the pastures one day and they were quite open, and I thought, shit, this might be a really good opportunity to actually undersow some, you know, diverse species into a bigger area. So basically spend the same amount of money on seed but do about, you know, 20 hectares instead of say 5 hectares. So I had a yarn to Greg Barclay through Soil Connection, who is our, you know, regen coach farm advisor, and he said, yep, perfect idea. So I said, should I buy some seed now? So this was sort of early February. I said, should I buy some seed now and then it's ready to go, you know, once the rains come we'll get into it. And he said, what you want to do, get the seed now, middle of February, get it in the ground. Which I was a little bit surprised about, a little bit nervous doing it then, but his sort of reasoning for that was that, you know, on those dry periods you've also had a lot of sort of seed that's in your pastures already, had, you know, a lot of seed drop, and if you wait till after that first rain, you've missed your chance, and all those sort of seeds that are already dropped there will fill in the gaps. And you know, you undersow later on, you will get some response, but nowhere near the response that you would by undersowing early. We did that, we ordered some seed. We were really lucky that Dad was able to spend a couple of days undersowing for us. We've got, I've got, you know, you would have seen in some of the other videos, my own old Fergie seed drill. Dad's got a bit more modern Aitchison 3-point linkage seed drill, which we do a lot of our undersowing and regrassing with. So yeah, Dad was able to spend a couple of days doing that for me, which was really cool. And apart from, you know, the cost of the seed, and then I paid the diesel bill for him to do it, there was really no cost, so it was fairly cost effective. We did about a quarter of the farm, which is about 20 hectares for, I think the seed was about $2.5 grand. So the mix he put together had oats in it, rocket grass, which is a perennial ryegrass, but a really fast growing perennial ryegrass, Saxon ryegrass, which is an Italian, which obviously fast growing, you know, doesn't stick around forever but really fast growing, and gives you plenty of feed through winter and that sort of thing. Vetches, so multiple different vetches. So vetches, if some of you haven't heard of them before, they're a legume, so a member of obviously the clover family. Well, clover is another, member of the legume family. So they're quite fast growing. They provide some good minerals and stuff for the cows. They they do that amazing thing where they can fix nitrogen from the atmosphere into your pastures or into your soils, which then can be used by the rest of your pastures. So there's some vetches in there, rape, so that's a brassica, really fast growing brassica that provides really cool feed, and you know, just a bit of diversity, a bit of bulk. So I think the main idea between the rape and the oats were both sort of bulk through, you know, autumn and winter. And the idea is if they're grazed properly, they should hang on through until, you know, maybe late spring with a bit of luck. And then plantain and chicory. So I've talked about plantain and chicory before, but they're awesome. You know, the cows get a lot out of them. There's some really good feed value in them, but also like the plantain in particular, there's been lots of research around it. Its ability to sort of soak up excess nitrogen in the soil or help slow down or mitigate nitrogen leaching. So that's a really cool thing. And I mean, there's some really cool cultivars out there now. Particularly the plantain is really upright nowadays, where in the past, you know, all the native plantains that we have on the farm are quite sort of, I think it's called prostate, which means they lie flat. The cows still get really good feed value out of them, but they're just a little bit harder for them to graze. We sowed that at about, I think, 35 kilos to the hectare. I'd have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. 30 to 35, it was there somewhere. And yeah, so Dad undersowed it for us. Greg's advice was to cross sow the paddocks. So basically that is, you go up and down, you know, the paddock in a straight line, and then you go across it again on diagonals from corner to corner. So obviously split your seed rate in half so that you're not, otherwise you'd be obviously putting double the seed in that you should do. And his idea about that was it just scratches the ground up a bit, breaks up the soil, and it just gives you a bit better sort of soil to seed contact. Yeah, we did that, which, you know, was another one of the benefits of having our own seed drill. Whereas if you're paying a contractor to do that, it may be a bit more expensive, or they may not actually want to do it if they're time pressed sort of thing. But no, so we did that. It was a little bit scary doing it, like I said earlier on, because I mean the paddocks were already quite open. We were really dry at that stage. I do actually have a video of Dad undersowing it back in February, so I'll try and get Claire to put that in here just to show you how dry we were. But obviously those paddocks were really knocked around and really looked a little bit scary, but I believed in Greg and believed in his advice, so we did it. We got some, you know, little bits of rain, so it started to germinate, and by that stage, sort of middle of February, we were starting to get some really heavy dews. So thankfully we didn't get any of that really scary wind that we can get sometimes through that period of year, that time of year. So I was a little bit nervous about stuff germinating, and then obviously, you know, getting really hot dry winds and then just burning it off, but we didn't get that. It sat there happy as, like we'd had a really good germination, and then we finally sort of late February and then into March we got some really good rains, stayed really nice and warm, and then we've had really good rain through since then. So we've been really lucky, like the way that it's bounced back, and those paddocks just absolutely boomed. We've had an amazing strike. They have grown just unbelievably, and it was really interesting. I feel like, you know, as scary as it was knocking those paddocks around or really hammering them, not like we did with undersowing them, those paddocks actually, once we got rain, bounced back way faster than the rest of the farm. So I found that, you know, the paddocks that we hadn't undersowed, they didn't bounce back in the same way until we had actually grazed them. And I think, you know, I had a yarn to Greg about it and said that to him, and he says what he kind of describes it as, it's put them into recovery mode, like what I guess what the plants would do, you know, as I said, after we'd grazed them, you know, the recovery mode, suddenly they're in, you know, oh shit, you know, we've been knocked around, we need to grow. And just, yeah, the paddocks just took off amazingly well. So we still haven't grazed them. They're due to be grazed now. So the paddock that I'm standing in, the reason I'm doing this video today is the cows are coming in here tomorrow. Basically, my plan was to just try and leave them as long as possible to try and give those plants the best chance to sort of get established, especially the rape. So this paddock we're standing in doesn't have a huge amount of rape, but some of the other ones they do, and they're still a little bit soft rooted. So I'm just wondering about whether maybe I will mow those paddocks in front of the cows, just so that I'm sort of a little bit worried that the cows will pull the rape out and then we'll only get one grazing from it. So I will have a look at that, yeah, when we get to some of the next paddocks and make that decision. Some of you that have seen some of our earlier videos would have seen back in springtime, I think it would have been about October, I think September, October, thereabouts, I was doing some undersowing I was really excited about these diverse pastures and just wanted to get stuck in, and I sowed some. I think we did oats and vetch, plantain, chicory. Was it those? I think it was those 4. Yeah, there might have been a couple of other things, but we undersowed them. Daikon radish, that was the other one. Had a sort of really limited success, which people did tell me we would have at that time of the year, and the reason for that, I think there's sort of 2 reasons. We'd had a really, really mild winter, so the pastures weren't really open. There wasn't a lot of sort of damaged areas. The odd little bit that were damaged, and those places obviously did get a much better strike. But also, the grass is growing so fast at that time of the year. Like even the paddocks that I thought were a bit open and I undersowed, they just filled in really fast, and then that grass took off and sort of smothered the young growth. So yeah, I think lots of people you talk to who try these things say they've made the same mistakes. So yeah, my advice would definitely be undersowing in autumn, trying to hit those paddocks hard. If you've had a dry summer like we've had, it's a really good time to get in there and undersow some diverse species. I tried to target paddocks that, you know, had a hard time. So a couple of the ones we did had a little bit of damage, you know, through winter. Never quite bounced back, or they probably struggled a bit. There was a couple there that, I know one in particular, I left the calves in for a bit too long and they just hammered it, and it was just looking really sad. So as well as giving it a scratch around and getting some more pasture species in there, it was a really good chance to give it a rest, which is one of the other sort of big sort of things about when you get into regen farming. Like some paddocks, they're not just in year round, boom, 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 boom. Sometimes you just need to leave a paddock, let it just grow, and those a couple of them there that really needed that, and I think they're actually looking really good. So yeah, after we finally got rain, I don't know if I said this, after we finally got rain, I've left them as long as possible. I think I did say it, but so these paddocks are probably about 60 days since grazing. So yeah, another thing that we found really great from the regen point of view was, you know, with the drought, I made our last of our silage was just before Christmas, so about a week before Christmas, and then those paddocks all went back into the round, and we've been on basically a 50-day round since. Even though, you know, we were dry, like the ryegrasses and that had shriveled up, there was bugger all left. Because we'd been on such a long round, we still had pretty good, so not good quality, but pretty good feed in front of us as such. So the cows were going into some paddocks that were still absolutely chocker with red clover, and so I've got some photos actually of some of the red clover the cows were going into, you know, red band height, just amazing. So I'll see if I can get Claire to put those in there as well. But yeah, so amazing red clover, and some of the paddocks, just by being shut up longer, there was a lot of plants I've never seen before. So I had to Google one. There's an awesome thing you can do on your iPhone. If you take a photo of a plant, it will actually help identify it for you. So yeah, another one called bird's foot trefoil that we had a lot of. So bird's foot trefoil is another member of the legume family, like the vetches and clovers and stuff, related I think to some of the lotuses. So lotus major, some of you would have remembered lotus major from back in the day. And I think a lot of these plants were obviously all just on farms once upon a time, and because all of our grazing round lengths have just gotten far too short, you know, we just don't give them the opportunity to grow. And the red clover, like I mentioned, that we've never planted any of that. I know some of it has come in from our runoff with hay, but a lot of it's just, you know, here naturally, or from, you know, the last 40 years. Greg kind of talks about it. It talks about there being a feed trough there. So, you know, which quite often happens is, say your ryegrass heavy pastures, like the ryegrass and stuff, has started to lose its quality a little bit, but your clovers and your legumes and your other herbs and stuff haven't sort of reached their potential yet. So you've got to be really careful in that period, sort of between about 25 or say 28 and 36 days. So yeah, he sort of talks about never really going on a round length shorter than 30 days. So we've been, I think our shortest we got down to was 32 days, and that was with silage and crop paddocks out. And then you bounce back to 50 days, and we're still on at least a 50-day round now, maybe a bit longer than that. And I've really seen the potential from it. Some paddocks that, for one reason or another, are really sort of ryegrass dominated, they have struggled a little bit. I definitely need to do a little bit better with quality next year on some of those paddocks. Like sometimes I'm just going to have to go in and mow a paddock, hit it hard to, you know, get on top of that. And eventually the diverse pasture species will help in that area a hell of a lot. Awesome, so I'm just going to take you for a bit of a walk through the paddock and just show you some of the plants that have come up. So this paddock is almost a little bit too long. I've just been hanging out for a chance to make this video for you guys, so I probably could have been grazed about a week ago, but I'll just turn around here. Obviously, you know, we've got your chicory, your oats. This is some rape coming through. We've got a little bit of radish left over, so I did undersow part of this paddock in the springtime, but we got really poor results. But that's daikon radish coming through, and I mean that's obviously been seeding a little bit, probably a bit of it seeded through summer, so hopefully it'll just keep popping back. But yeah, and obviously there's the ryegrass and the Italian ryegrass and stuff in there. They're a little bit harder to spot, obviously, in the sward, but I mean that's probably some of it. But just so stoked with the strike we've got and how it's growing. Like if you sort of pan around there, like you know, you look at how many different species you can see compared to a paddock or a pasture that's just ryegrass and white clover basically. And then there's other sort of so-called weeds that the cows will love to eat too. You know, some of these ones here, we get a little bit of hedge mustard and stuff. So hedge mustard is just a brassica where if you can graze it while it's you know, young enough, the cows just eat it. They actually do really well on it. So yeah, the vetch is a little bit harder to find. I'll see if I can find some of that. The vetch is actually a really cool plant though, in a way. We planted it obviously in our mixed summer crop, and because that was let to grow for so long, sort of 60 days, and in a really fast growing time of the year, so that the mixed crop was up above my head, and the vetch would actually grow up the sunflowers and everything and then creep along on top of it. So it was a really cool plant to see sort of growing, I guess, in its natural, as close as you can get to its natural environment these days. So here's one of the plantain plants that I mentioned earlier. See how upright they're growing these days, erect they're growing compared to the prostate ones that we, you know, the old ones everybody's used to. Yeah, more of the oats and stuff. Still trying to find a vetch plant. I'll have a walk through and see if I can see one. They do really well. They just get a little bit hidden in the sward because they're a bit of a smaller plant. Oh, here we go, look. So they're quite a cool little plant once you see them. And yeah, the cows actually absolutely love it. In summertime they've got a beautiful sort of, well, different varieties, but a purpley red flower on them. I've just got a scotch here right there beside it. The cows won't graze that one. Oh yeah, there's another vetch plant there. It's coming in. So yeah, so happy with it. I think I said, yeah, we undersowed about a quarter of the farm, and then we had 5 hectares of that mixed summer crop. So our goal for the year, like we're quite good at having sort of goals for the year. One of our goals was to have, I think it was 15% of the farm in diverse pasture species in our first season of doing this, and with the amazing success we've had from undersowing these paddocks, we're actually about 30%, so really stoked about that. And yeah, just really looking forward to seeing how they perform through winter, how the plants persist, so what plants stick around for a long time, what don't. And then yeah, just seeing how they perform at different times of the year going forward, you know, compared to a, you know, your traditional ryegrass and white clover pasture. So yeah, obviously with the drought and stuff, we've had a really tough season. We're well down on production, unfortunately, but we can't do anything about that. The cows have come through really well condition wise, so I mean, cows are fat actually. They're still getting really well fed. Up until Christmas we had quite good growth, so we made really quite good supplements, so we've got plenty of feed on hand. So we're going to milk through till the 20th, maybe the 30th of May at least, which I'm really happy about that. And then yeah, so we're just really looking forward to next season now, and we had a really good in-calf rate, so we're only 7% empty, which is roughly where we've been for the last 3 years. So stoked with that. We've got such good cover now, like, you know, if you're looking at this paddock here, obviously these are a little bit longer than some of the other ones, but just the way the farm has taken off since that rain has just been amazing. A great thing about the long round, and then also with the mixed summer crop that we had, we didn't actually start feeding out silage until the start of March, so that was once the crop finished, you know, we got into the silage. So I'm going to sign off for now. I've actually really enjoyed talking to you guys again. It's been a while. Hopefully you haven't minded me rambling too much. It's funny when you get into these things and you meet new people and you learn all this new stuff. It gets really exciting, and yeah, I probably talk too much, but really enjoyed talking to you. Thanks heaps for watching. If you are interested in any more regen stuff, you can go back and check out some of the other videos. But for the time being, thanks heaps for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.